everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. And today is going to be my short review,
Short?
of season 4
Safi, you don't know the definition of short.
of American Horror Story, Freak Show.
Even though you are short, so
Now, I
it's kind of
started
like
to...
irony.
What's interesting about this series is I started to watch it, and I even watched the entire first episode, and I didn't like it at all. And I thought, I don't really want to watch the rest of this. I just didn't think I'd like it, and it was kind of like a thing where and Marco's already done 2 reviews, so I don't know what my review of it is going to add to anything, except it's my own opinion. But, you know, the people who are, quote, freaks, they're people who were born with abnormalities, and they were usually, and I don't think you cannot say that, mistreated and abused. They were neglected. They were dropped off at orphanages. They were taken to asylums where was terrible living conditions. And just because they were born with abnormalities didn't make them stupid or retarded, or it just made them different. And I just thought, I don't want to see that. But since I was doing this review, and American Horror Story is a different kind of show, which I like, and I revel in, because I get tired of the same old stuff. I don't really watch TV anymore, because it's just the same old.
Well, it's horror. They don't make any horror movies nowadays. Really,
that's interesting too, because when you watch this American Horror Story show, you realize that these horror movies that companies have been passing off to the public.
Halloween Ends.
They're not even horror stories anymore. I don't know what they are. They're just like clinging on to the past and not letting go, and throwing everything you can to the wall and seeing what sticks.
But I don't think it'd be clinging to the past, because like the past movies were good.
Clinging to like, for instance, I think Halloween should be put to sleep and covered up with a blanket.
Oh, I disagree. I think that they should do more with other characters than shitty ass Laurie who nobody cares about. Like, Jamie Lee Curtis doesn't define Halloween. Michael Myers does.
Well, they've made it like that, though.
Dr. Loomis did, but then he died in real life. Speaking of Safi, guess what?
What?
A new Twin Peaks person died today. And it was actually the composer for all the music. And, you know, this has been like a running joke on our show, or just in general, is the fact that, like, it took 25 years to get a season 3.
Wow.
It should not have taken that long to get season 3, especially the season that we got. and now it's like I guess we're never going to get a season 4, and just everyone's dying off. Like, all the people in real life, they're all passing away. And it's just like a big joke, because, like, instead of sitting around, you know, he could be making season 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like how Ryan Murphy made this 11+ season show, American Horror Story.
Yeah, and like, granted, not all of them have probably been good, but still, it's like an basic acting troupe. I was talking about that every year you have a basic cast, and they all get to play different positions and types of people from year to year, and and then they bring in new people too. But I think that's really good. And this other thing with Twin Peaks, by the time he decides he's going to do something, everybody's going to be dead.
Yeah, that's the joke, is that like every
and that's
every
the way
minute,
it looks, really.
Like, they should have like an app called Twin Peaks Gone Forever. It should just be like you have like all the actors from the show, and you have like a life bar, and it has like current conditions. None. That person has they have AIDS. And it's gonna be like a little countdown where it's like,
well, I think it's like that children's book with 5 monkeys sitting on the bed. One falls off, and how many do you have left? You have 4. And of course, there's not just 5 characters in Twin Peaks. There's a lot more, but that's what it's like.
And every time someone dies, you'll get the Twin Peaks theme playing on your phone, and it'll go dun dun dun, and then it'll show the picture of the person who died and say, "Whoops," and then when everyone's dead, it'll have one last ringtone where it has a special voice message from David Lynch himself, and he says, "Ha ha 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 ha! Fuck you guys! I'm not making season 4 now."
Yeah, and he'll probably say it's not my fault that they died.
and then the app will shut down.
Yeah, really. So anyway, because I had committed to watching this show, and here it is, the Christmas season, I'm watching. I just wanted to let you know I am watching a Christmas movie a day.
I'm not.
Kind of new ones, but not a lot of them I've seen before. They're kind of like my favorite ones, and I just watch it once a year, and then you can't even find them anywhere after that, after Christmas. So I figure I'll hurry up and take my chances now while they're still around.
Is
just do one a day.
As Jessica Lange says on the show, Christmas is canceled.
Nah.
Yeah.
But anyway, and we've still been going to our old house, and today I went and got the Christmas tree stand, for example. So every day I go there, I feed the cat. Our feral kitty who comes by, has no one else to feed him, and that's very tragic. I don't know what's going to happen, because pretty soon, I don't know, when they actually destroy the house, I don't know how I'm going to be able to help him. So I don't want to think about that. It's like a horror story unto itself. So I stuck it out. I watched every episode. There's 13 episodes, and there's major stars. Jessica Lange, I know you all know this. Kathy Bates. There's Sarah Paulson, alias Crybaby, and there's Evan Peters, who was nominated for a Golden Globe for his performance in Dahmer, as well as the Dahmer show.
Well, I would say he deserves the award over everyone.
He's really good.
TV acting should go to him. Best season should go to Cobra Kai. Best actress could go to, I can't really think of any good, because they all just want to act like men nowadays, so
I don't know about that.
I can't really think of who would deserve it with that.
I don't know. They had the if you want to talk, that would be a video unto itself about who got nominated for the Golden Globes, but that Anna, the girl who plays on Ozark, and I don't know her name, and was in that was it Inventing Anna, or?
Well, actually, I think that
she deserves.
I think that Kim from Better Call Saul.
She was not nominated. Actually, Better Call Saul was nominated as a show, and Bob Odenkirk was nominated
but she wasn't?
As an actor.
She wasn't? Oh, isn't that sad?
This is Golden Globes, okay?
Too bad for Better Simp Kim.
Yeah, that's interesting. So here we are. We're supposed to be talking about this. But see, Marco's already done the two...
Well, see, Safi, I could talk about it, whatever, but you're the one who's going off track so that you can pretend like you're some sort of a knowledgeable, what's a name that starts with, a woman's name that starts with K?
I don't know. A stupid Karen?
No.
Oh, God. Help me.
A knowledgeable Karen. Or a knowledgeable Christina. Because you can have Christina with a K.
What I ought to have Marco do is listen to all these sports analysts and rank them, because listen to them talking about all the teams. Like, just if you just want to pick out football, for example, NFL football, not college football. Just
Safi,
NFL.
I'm gonna rank.
You'd probably throw up trying to listen, because it's like you talk about women gossiping and talking about boyfriends and jobs and all this stuff.
I'm gonna
listening to them talk about some of these sports figures, it's barf.
I'm gonna rank all the times you've gone off track in this video.
Okay, well,
because you're just like,
I'll get back to the video.
It's like, what the fuck? It's like, if I was listening to this video and I wasn't a part of the channel, I'd just say, fuck you, and I'd exit out of it.
Okay, well, anyway, back to the freak show. So what was really good about this, if you want to compare seasons, we were just talking about it, but it kind of had more structure, which means it had a beginning, a middle, and an end. You had a backstory that explained how the freak show loosely got together. The person who put it together was Jessica Lange, and she was portraying this German person. So the whole thing, she's a really excellent actress. She had a German accent, and it shows her the backstory of putting it together. Then you have this ongoing stories going on, and then they end where she goes, what happens to the freak show. So it's very complete in general. There are some loose ends, of course. For example, Neil Patrick Harris came in probably 3/4 of the way in.
No, he came in 7/8 of the way in, I would say.
I don't know. Well, so to me, it's just, and he is, a primo actor. He's a very good actor, and I'm not ever going to say otherwise, but it was kind of like, I don't know if he wanted to be on the show, or Ryan Murphy always wanted him to be on the show, and there was no way to, like, I don't know how he would have worked in that Witch's Coven show the previous season, but he portrayed this traveling salesman.
I think he could do it. I think he could do it because he did that. I never finished watching it because I didn't really like the humor. It was very dry humor, but that series of unfortunate events. Oh yeah. He played the Count, and of course really the Count would disguise himself as all those different characters. That's right. And so I think he actually could do a great job. Yeah, he could. In each season, he wanted to, and he had time. I don't know what the conditions of him working on this show, how that worked out, but he came in and played this character, and he bought the whole show from Elsa, who was the German woman who put it together, which is Jessica Lange. Safi. And anyway, he came in. He did a really good job, but it was just kind of like, it seemed like an afterthought, or I don't know. There was just something strange about it. It wasn't. If he'd been in it all along, it might have, but maybe it just wouldn't work out. You couldn't have too many serial killers on the loose, because it starts out with a serial killer clown, and he had this really ugly, toothy smile, and he goes around kidnapping people, murdering people, just showing up everywhere, all over the place. You think, where's this guy? Is he associated with the freak show? That's what I thought for a long time, and he was just kind of like running amok. He was a great
amok independently, you know, and
He was a great villain.
he was a very
and
good villain, and he wasn't what you thought he was when they showed his backstory, which was a good idea, which I thought was good.
He reminded us both of Pennywise, because we criticized in that movie he would just pop up out of nowhere.
And he did. And he was everywhere.
He was very powerful. He would just kill anyone and everyone. Like, it really seemed like
about it.
I thought he has to be supernatural. There's no way he's a person who can talk, and then all of a sudden he starts talking, and it's like, wow. And it's like, that was a great moment. That whole episode was really good. Definitely one of the highlights of the season. I mean,
and that starts off the show. That's like at the beginning.
It's too bad that wasn't the whole season, because it should have been. Like,
and then they have Michael Chiklis? I don't know if that's his first name or not, but he's been in a lot of things where...
And he's gay in this show, which is pretty interesting.
That is really weird. That is totally not him, and he
does a great job.
He's a really good actor. He's gotten awards, and so it was actually a very fine cast, I think. And I guess some of these people, I mean, you can't hide the fact they do have deformities, I guess, in real life. Or
yeah, like you do, Safi. You could empathize with these characters.
For heaven's sakes, Marco. And they have this little tiny woman, and she's just like a little girl. I mean, she's just a little tiny woman, and something terrible happens to her. But it really it was pretty much complete. There was some the best actor was the villain. Not the best actor, but the kind of one of my favorite characters was the villain.
Dandy.
His name was Dandy.
Yeah, because you don't even put the effort into, like, remembering any names.
No.
You just kind of, like, pretend like everybody, like, that's the funny thing. Like, you go on and on, like, explaining the whole plots, all the little details.
Plots to explain. There's no way I could even...
But then you're just like, mustache man, black guy, white girl, tall boy,
Marco,
short man.
That's exaggerating.
The short man had an affair with the tall woman, and then the tall woman had a cousin who was Mexican Joe.
Okay, Marco. You're getting off track.
That's what you do, though. Like so that.
I just wanted to say another thing about
Dandy.
This first episode is they introduce Sarah Paulson.
It's Crybaby. Excuse me.
Crybaby.
I called her Crybaby Twins.
She was the two-headed girl. When I saw it, I just laughed my head off, and I thought, this is just too much. I can't watch this because Sarah Paulson does not have two heads.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I tried to catch it on camera. I got, like, the last part of her laughing, and then she stopped, and it was unfortunate because she was like...
I just saw that, and I couldn't believe it. It was just hilarious. I don't know how they did that. And it really looked good. You know, during the whole thing, they talked about her being surgerized and becoming two people, how they had I mean, this is not today's time that they were doing the show. This was back like the 50s or early 60s or something. And, you know, they were talking about other surgeries, but one of the people had died, and you know, and I'm thinking, I don't, they're not really going to do that, are they? And so I was glad they didn't do it.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was glad they didn't do.
Because that's very complicated. I've seen over the years they've had separated Siamese twins, but it was a very special condition where they had the internal organs that would, you know, keep each one separately alive. So, and I don't think in this case, if this was a real thing, I don't think that would have been the case. So anyway, that really just threw me off, and I'm thinking, I don't think I can watch this. But anyway, back to that, I did, and I did end up liking it. My favorite character, like I said, it wasn't Jessica Lange. Even though, and Kathy Bates was in it too. She played a bearded lady. She was really good too, but she had a very odd accent. I'm not really sure what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I didn't really care about her accent the first time I watched it, but then the second time when I was listening to it with Safi, I thought, like, how the hell did I not notice this bizarre, like, it's so weird. It's like...
Well, I'm really, I'm kind of been into that because that's kind of linguistics. When you, which is anthropology, study of language, and even in, I grew up in the state of Missouri, and even if you look at like Missouri, different parts of it have different accents, and they say completely different things.
Yeah, they all have a different way of saying the hate speech that they like to say in Missouri.
Yeah, really. Well, that's all one thing. I'm not going to go into that. But anyway.
Like, you studied hate speech in Missouri.
Well, in college, I went to the University of Missouri, and you met people from all over the state.
And they all had their own way of saying,
well, in St. Louis,
saying
they
a very
say
racist
quarter.
word.
Instead of quarter, it's quarter. And they would say soda. In Kansas City, people would say pop. And then in southern Missouri, they would say sody pop. Anyway, she had this weird accent, and she kept it up during the entire time she was on the show. And I still don't know what it was. It sounded kind of like European, like Irish, or not. I don't know. It was just really weird.
It sounded like... It sounded, to me, I would say that accent should be called the bad idea accent.
Yeah, I really don't know, but she kept it up. She figured out one way to talk, and she managed to keep it, the same. And Jessica Lange, of course, she did an excellent job. She had, of course, a German accent, and she kept it up the entire show. And she was really good, and she may have won an award for this show, a couple of them. But we won't go into that. But anyway, it was my favorite actor in the show was the villain, and I say villain because there's more than one. But this was a sociopathic one that went insane and shot everybody in the everyone that he could find.
Yeah, like, that's the funny thing is he did all these evil things, but he's still the best character. Like, if he wasn't in this season,
it wouldn't have been the same, that's for sure.
It would have been trash. Like, I wouldn't have even watched the whole thing, probably.
And there were a couple of little story loopholes, or not loopholes, but holes.
Those are called plot holes, Safi.
Yeah.
That's what they're called.
And one was with him, and he was a rich kid, and his mother played, in the last season, she played that red-haired witch. And this season, she played this wealthy woman who had this son they wore impeccable looking clothing. They lived in a mansion, and I mean, they had the whole rich lifestyle, but he was insane. And he was, it turns out to be, he was he wanted these twins, these two-headed girl. He really was obsessed with them. But then he was just insane, and he would kill at a drop of a hat. In fact, at the beginning, he started hanging around with that other clown and helping him get victims.
And you kind of thought, okay, this rich guy, he's going to be there, and he's going to get killed or caught, and then the clown is going to be the main villain to the end. But no, it's the other way around. The clown gets taken away, and then for the rest of the season, you have American Psycho Light.
I don't know about Light. He kills everybody in the freak show.
He's American Psycho Light because American Psycho was a lot scarier, and it was just a lot better. Like, his story, it didn't even really belong. Like, his whole story of, like, being a human freak, that's basically his character, is that he's a freak too, even though he's not physically a freak. But they had all these other characters who were freaks too, who were human. And so that wasn't really valid to have him as the villain. And I think that...
Well, he was a freak in that he had a serious mental deficiency. He was just mentally ill.
Well, he was cool. Like, I would vote for him.
But anyway, and then Evan Peters, who is becoming a very outstanding actor with lots of experience. I mean, he's been given all kinds of experience to play different characters. He played a lobster boy with these hands that were like lobster claws, and sorry, and his character kind of became a disappointment. He was supposed to be the leader of the group.
Well, is that your opinion, or are you just parroting my opinion?
And that's just what Marco seems to say. But he did come out strong, and then he was arrested, and then after that, the character kind of got shuffled in and out periodically, and then in the end they show him, like I said, everybody got killed just about by the insane guy, and you have Evan, he marries the two-headed girl, and they show her pregnant, so that was kind of weird. And then they have another character which I really like too, and he only popped in on Halloween night. And because they had the superstition...
And what was his name?
Edward Mordrake.
Oh, thank God. Because the whole season, you were calling him Edward Marsden.
Well, yeah.
The whole season.
Well, he was like a supernatural character, because you got this show, and that was something we complained about for this latest season, came out this year, about the AIDS crisis in the gay community in the 80s. They had their series focused on that this year, and it is an American Horror Story, but more in the real sense of the word. And then the only supernatural thing had to do with tarot cards, and that was it. And this guy was a supernatural figure, came out on Halloween, because they had the suspicion that if they performed on Halloween, this guy would show up. He had a really handsome face, and on the back of his head he had this mean, ugly face. And I don't know, I'm not going to go on what the story is. I don't remember exactly the whole story, but
you liked him.
Take you to, yeah, I did like him. He's British, and they take you to if you performed, and if you were a freak, I guess you have to be a freak, right? You can't just be anybody who's quote normal. It has to be somebody who has some kind of deformity in some way, and if he picked you, you would have to go to the quote other side, which I guess is hell.
No,
but it didn't look like hell to me, because they showed the other side in the end. And so he would pop up on Halloween, and all the performers wanted to stick to this no performing on Halloween, because they did not want to go away with Edward. And they all knew the superstition, they all knew about him, they all believed in him, and he did show up a few times, and it was really good. He didn't have a really big part, but it was really interesting. It was fun, because it was supernatural, short and sweet.
I will repeat my opinion, which is they should have had it where Neil Patrick Harris is introduced the first 2 episodes, and then instead of the clown being taken, Edward takes the
Neil Patrick Harris. Yeah.
And he disappears from the police station in front of all the police. And then they have to defeat the clown themselves. And then still the same thing would happen at the end with Jessica Lange wanting to get taken away. And that was one of the things, I didn't really talk about that story. I just thought it was kind of like the whole finale was just, to me, it was another disappointment. Like I didn't even mention either. Dandy the whole season talked about wanting to perform. He wanted to act and do all this stuff. He never even gets to perform in the
Well,
finale.
he doesn't seem to care about it.
Yeah, he did.
Well, not the day he was shooting everybody to death with his handgun.
He just ends up like killing everyone because of something that happened before. And I really thought it would have been much better. And see, this is the part where we start coming up with better ideas than what was on the show. He puts on his debut performance. He does a terrible job.
And
The
gets
audience
laughed
hates
at.
him.
Yeah.
And then he starts killing the audience. And that's when the police show up, and instead of the police helping get rid of him, they're all on his payroll all of a sudden, and so they start pretending like the freaks were the people who killed the audience. And so they start to try to kill all the freaks. And that's when Jimmy would come in, and Jimmy would have to be the leader and help them get away from the bad guys and defeat the bad guys. And see, that would have been a much better finale.
I don't know how that all would have worked.
Much better.
But Mark was actually speaking from something that did happen in the show. These housewives were having a, quote, Tupperware event in the home. So if you know what that's like,
No, Safi, that was just a put on. That was a disguise so that they could get the lobster boy to take care of them. It was a cover, Safi. You didn't realize that?
Oh, yeah, we already talked about that, but anyway.
No, we did. We didn't talk about the lobster boy and his business with
I already
them.
knew that. But anyway.
Sure you did.
Yes, Marco. Anyway, they all got killed. It's just this group of suburban women, and they're at this house meeting for a certain reason. But guess who comes to the house after Lobster Boy got drunk on his butt and didn't know what he was doing or where he was? The sociopath goes there and he kills them all. And then he pays one of the policemen, just one, $1 million to blame it all on Evan Peters, Lobster Boy. And he gets put away, but he gets back out, but that's a whole long thing, and I'm not going to explain that. But anyway, he's speaking from something that actually the police, at least one of them, were on the take for $1 million, which just doesn't, in a small town area, getting $1 million all of a sudden.
$1 million
would really stick out.
$1 million then.
And they said $1 million too. They said the number.
It's 10 times what it was nowadays.
Yeah.
So that's 10 million today. So that'd be pretty.
In a certain other way too.
That'd be pretty bad, and so. But it's also weird because we never got to see him kill the women at the Tupperware party.
No, they didn't show. They just invited him in.
And it's so strange because he kills like 10 women. Like he 10 women in the pool. They're all floating in the pool with blood in the pool, and you think, how did he kill all those 10 women? Like, you can't even really picture it. Yeah. And so I think they didn't show it, number one, because it probably would have been too violent. But number two, I don't think he pictured how he would have been able to do it. So he just thought, let's just have him do it, and that's cool.
Say that he did it.
But they called the episode Tupperware Party Massacre.
Oh.
And to me, it's kind of disappointing because based on the title, I want to see a massacre.
No. Well.
Wouldn't you?
Not really. But
why?
There's no evidence, but you know how he is, and he's a killer, and he kills anybody and everybody without even holding his breath. He's just without any kind of pause. He just does it. It's just like when he around shooting everybody.
But he did it with a knife. He didn't do it with a gun in that case.
Yeah, true, and that's how they have not gotten away. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But it was worthwhile watching. I recommend it, and my food review of it, because the characters, I thought for the most part they were really good. You had a lot of the characters from the Coven series come in, and like I
Angela
said,
Bassett was not good though.
now I didn't care for her hairdo, and I know that sounds stupid. That just sometimes it was of the age of the period. It was a period hairdo, and
Well, who was your
I liked
least?
her Haitian locks with the braids, and I thought it was very exotic looking. I see she's in this Wakanda movie. I didn't realize that. Was she in the other?
Safi, she was in
the other one? I guess she was. But
Safi.
well, I think of her.
Well, they
when
kill
she-
her off. They kill her off in the movie
Oh, that's too bad.
for shock value.
That's too bad. But anyway,
But who's your least favorite character in general? Because you said your favorite was Dandy.
yeah.
Who's your
I
least
just,
favorite?
And it's bad, I think. But my least favorite? Wow. Gee, I don't know.
It can't be because they're evil. It has to be because they're a bad character. Like, I thought that guy selling the parts,
I didn't like him that much.
he was a bad guy, but he was so good at acting,
He
and
was good at acting.
he was fun to watch, and I could watch him in a whole series.
And
As a
the
villain.
girl Emma Roberts, who usually plays a BIT.
She did a good job
She
playing.
was actually playing somebody who was, well, she was his accomplice, but she changed, and she was for the good.
Yeah.
And that was a very unusual part for her, because she usually plays the biggest BIT in the room and in the universe. And she was actually, I thought her, and she got a terrible end. She got sawed in half for real, and she didn't know what was going to happen. It was by Neil Patrick Harris, who pictured her, because he's insane, as somebody else that he hated, and he didn't realize that was her. He
To
thought it was
be
somebody
fair,
else.
his wife was a bitch. I
Well-
mean, they showed his wife. Apparently, I didn't even get this because I didn't care when I was watching it. But apparently,
Well, I know, I saw it.
he went off to war, and his wife started having an affair.
with
and
another woman.
And then he came home, and she was saying, she was forcing him to have an affair with them. And I thought, like, ew. I didn't even realize that, because I was like, I didn't even care, because I was like, why is this new character suddenly in the show?
Well, he was severely injured. He had a metal plate in his head.
So do you.
Anyway,
So do you.
So anyway, my food review of it, because I thought it was very, actually Marco suggested it, and it's very apropos for the season, and we're in the holiday season, and it's apropos for the series, and that is a fruitcake, because each one of these people, whatever abnormality they had, was a fruit. And then there's nuts.
God,
in it too.
Safi, you don't be so homophobic.
Well, no, it isn't. It's like it's a whole troop of different people with different.
You
they're
gotta
all
admit,
different, and that's what a fruitcake is like. It's full of multiple different fruits and nuts, and in amongst the cake, which would be the freak show, which would be the whole show where they're acting. So. I thought that was very apropos.
You got to admit, Safi, while you were watching the season, we both said, like, God, why is everybody gay? Like,
Yeah,
just,
I don't want
just
to.
he made, like, it is so bizarre. Like, he made it. It's like, why is it that like everyone is gay? Like, everybody is either gay or lesbian in this universe.
The thing is
apparently.
that back in those days, because even when I was an undergraduate and in college in the early 70s to the late 70s, people didn't go on about being gay. No, that people didn't talk about, because they didn't want people to know they were gay. And I think Ryan Murphy is probably thinking, what would it look like? What would it be like if people were more openly gay? How would it look, and how would it fit into the story?
But
and how is it part of the story?
He
how
made
can
it like
it be part of the story?
Everyone and their mother is gay, apparently.
He went a little bit crazy with that.
Like, and there's no female nudity. It's just all naked men.
Yes, they show
Like,
naked,
just constantly.
completely naked. I'm like, oh my God.
It's like, where's the equality? It's just so hypocritical and so one-sided. Like, if you can show one, you should show the other.
I don't know, but I just want to be happy to report that last year, when I went on, and I can't help it because I still think of to this day, they had those 2 gay characters and 2 males, and they started talking, having this conversation.
You mean season 10, the shitty double
10.
Feature season.
It was just I don't know what they were experimenting around. Anyway, they were talking about things. I'm not even going to say what they were talking about.
Why?
It was so filthy and disgusting, and I'm like, I can't. And I was thinking, these are like relatively new actors, so they haven't had a lot of acting experience. In other words, they haven't had a lot of TV or movie exposure, so their families are probably at home having a watch party.
They're having a Tupperware party.
They're having a watch party. Can you imagine the grandma and the parents and the aunts and uncles, the nephews and whoever else, and they're talking like this, and the parents and the grandmother probably having a heart attack.
And keep in mind,
probably rushing the children out of the room.
They didn't come up with these lines.
No,
somebody else
yeah,
did.
Didn't,
so
I'm not blaming
that's what
them
was
at
even
all.
funnier. Like, I rewatched the scene because I watched other people.
Oh God, how could you do that?
Well, I watched other people react to it, and they were so uncomfortable. It was hilarious.
Yeah, well, I was happy to report that I wasn't the only one, and it was actually people who were gay who were not comfortable with the scene. So I'm glad to hear that, because I just thought it was very inappropriate.
Well, the way that one of the characters was taught, it was just so, like, cringeworthy.
I don't
like,
even know how they could do it. I just don't know. You know, I was in this writing class, not when I was an undergrad, just way after I've have kids, and at Wright State University, which is really close by here.
And people would talk like that there.
No, we had a writing class, and he wanted everybody to read a sample of the writing. And there was this gay girl, and she started going on, and she got really graphic, and I was about to throw up. And I just, it reminded me of that. But this was on TV, and I just thought, my God, those people, even they show these football players, like for football games, the son. He's never played, and it's his first professional game, or you see one of these singing competitions where, or the Olympics, where the whole town is in the room and they're watching their sports person perform, and you see they show they're waving and cheering, and can you imagine this family at home watching this and listening to their loved one on TV talking like this? And I just like, oh my God, I just couldn't believe it. I'm so happy. The only reason I'm mentioning this because I found out that I'm not the only one who was it's not really offended, it's just was,
well, Safi, that might be
partly offensive, partly just disbelief that they would talk like this on TV in public.
It might be the worst scene in history.
Oh, God.
Of movies and TV combined.
And gay people were complaining about it. They didn't like it either. They were uncomfortable. And what did they say? What did they say, Marco?
Well, I'm not gonna. This is about your opinion on the season.
But what did they? But you are the one who saw this.
That's just a little thing.
Well, anyway.
They hated it. They thought it was disgusting. I don't want to. It's.
You're the one who brought up about gay people.
Yeah, that's because the whole season you're like, Marco, why is everybody gay? Like, you kept on saying that over and over again.
Wish list.
And then you're like, I'm not going to talk about that in the review.
I don't know how old Brian Murphy is. I don't think he's as old as I am. I think he's younger. But even so, it could be that in his younger days, it was just like, for me, people didn't talk about that because they were afraid of being discriminated against and losing their job or whatever. And so they just didn't talk about that. That's just the way it was. I'm not saying it should be like that. I just say that's the way it was.
It's just not important
and
at all.
And this is what it was,
like,
though.
Like,
the show was supposed to be set in this time, or really earlier than me going to college in the early, mid, and late 70s.
Being gay isn't a character trait.
No, it's not a character trait. But
yet they treat it like one.
It was infused into several of the storylines.
Yeah. But it did work, like, at least with one of them. It's just that was something that we talked about, and we also talked about, I'm trying to think if there's any other big thing. Well, you didn't like, well, you never even said who your worst character was. Who was the worst character?
It's really hard to say. I didn't like, even though he was a good actor, the guy he was picking. It was almost like he was setting each freak into his sights, and he was picking off one by one, and he would sell their body or parts of their body
but
to
he
this
was a
museum conveyor.
He was a great character, though.
Yeah.
He wasn't a bad character.
No, he wasn't. He was a good actor.
Oh, what about the fat
like
girl?
Him,
what about the fat girl who didn't do anything?
Well, there's this heavyset girl, and she's actually been but she's not that big. They made her. You could tell they put this big pillow thing around her.
Oh, I know.
She
but that's
has
the character.
been in a show. I think that was Maggie, and what did we talk about?
Micah Molly?
Micah Molly or something.
Are you sure?
I think that's what it is. She was in. I didn't watch that. I don't like sitcoms, and
No, you didn't want to watch it because they're fat. Like
no, I didn't. That is not.
Yeah, it is.
I thought that was
every single week you'd be in the car and you'd be like, I'm sick and tired of them advertising Mike and Molly. Nobody wants to watch a show about two fat people in love.
I never said that.
Yeah, you did.
I don't believe it.
You were
I think
like...
you're lying. Why would you do that anyway?
Well, it was true because it was like, what's the draw to this show? The fact that they're both fat? Like, that was the only draw to it. That was the only selling point. Like, it's like this. It's not funny. Neither actor is any good at all,
Well, whatever. They were not that heavy, but in the show, because she's the quote fat woman in the show, because it's a freak show, they made her look like a big balloon, and you could tell it was just clothing.
Well, there's this stupid part where she's gonna revolt against Jessica Lange and kill her
with the rest of the freaks, and she hasn't even been there that long. So yeah, I guess I don't really like her because I just thought she was kind of like a.
And if they kill her, then she won't have any food.
Yeah, and they would give her these excessive amounts of food. They showed her. They sat there and they were helping to feed her, and she didn't need help. She was fine because if she was really that heavy, she wouldn't have been as agile as she was in the movie. And anyway, not movie, the show. So anyway, that's it. So I'm not going to say anything else. But if you haven't watched this season, don't be put off by the first episode like I was. But I still, because I have an obligation, I said I would watch this and do a review. Go ahead and watch it and see. You can see Evan Peters, who's been nominated for Dahmer. And you can see his evolution as an actor. He really is a good actor, although he didn't get as big of a part in this. He had a really strong part, and then, like we said, fizzled out from the mid to the end. And they showed him in the end. He came back, roaring back, in this kind of unlikely. He wed the two-headed girl, and she was pregnant. They show her belly.
Yeah, after he rejected her a couple episodes ago, by the way.
She liked him. She did like him from the start.
There's this whole stupid story with that where he rejects them for Emma Roberts.
Yeah, he liked.
But then he finds out Emma Roberts was bad, and then he's like, never mind. And then he's basically forced to get with the twins because Emma Roberts is dead, and it's like just. Ugh.
Yeah, and that was really bad because Emma Roberts,
She saved them.
she saved them, and she clued them all in to what was going on to that guy who was auctioning off their parts to the highest bidder, which was this lady with the museum. And they show him in the end too, which I thought that was a good thing. I thought they'd killed him, but they didn't. Marco said and I didn't see this, but they cut off his arms and legs because he got these people, even Evan Peters, who had gotten in trouble with the police for crimes he didn't commit. And he said, you can get he goes, I don't have the money for a good lawyer. He says, well, you can sell, I know what you can do. And he cut off his hands, his lobster hands. And he had no hands. And so they cut off his arms and legs. And he was in this pit.
They cut out his tongue, too.
Oh, God. So really vicious and violent.
I looked up, they were just copying the ending of Freaks, which was the movie that they referenced.
Oh, okay.
They did the same thing in that.
So tomorrow I'll be doing a review of season...
Monk, season 2.
Oh, season 2 of Monk, and that has been really excellent. That is a really, really good show.
Yeah, except for that Pies episode. That one wasn't very good.
That was my favorite episode of anything of all times. It was just perfect. So, anyway, goodbye, everybody.